I'm not surprised the banks are seeing that. They also have the data that matches. I think the CBA have that data set which has been reported on, which shows that renters and people in their 30s and 40s are bearing the brunt of interest rate rises, and they're cutting the most out of their budgets. Their reduction in spending is the highest compared to other age sets, which seem still to be spending quite liberally. Interesting feedback, interesting data, and it's important that the RBA takes all that into consideration when they consider rate rises and its impact. I've been really focusing on scamming and scammers, particularly, their response to what's a pretty extraordinary phenomenon here in Australia. Over $3.1 billion has been lost to scamming. That's an increase of 80% on the year before, and only 2 to 5% is recovered by Australian banks, whereas that in the UK is as high as 66%. So I've been trying to understand why Australian banks don't do more to protect consumers from scammers or to refund consumers. And, I'll be honest, I'm not too impressed with some of their responses there, Matt. People use banks to keep their money safe, and it's quite extraordinary, some of the stats that we've got out of the ACCC. Last year alone, $3.1 billion was lost to scams. That's up 80%. Seniors and people from a non-English speaking background are overrepresented in those stats. And we know that the Australian Financial Complaints Authority, the Ombudsman, which is funded by the big banks, say that banks don't have that responsibility. But the ACCC make it pretty clear that banks need to start doing more. They need to start monitoring transactions. Compare our system to that of the UK, where banks voluntarily started to refund money to people who fall victim to scammers, even if by mistake. They started refunding money to the tune of up to 66% of money is returned. Here in Australia, that's 2 to 5%. So there's a huge difference between both systems there. And quite rightly, many in our community are wondering why Australian banks aren't doing more. The ACCC's wondering why banks aren't doing more.